some screaming heavy metal! We rock! But the evil that men do lives on. We gonna bang your head!
You are now listening to the Music Mania podcast, a hard-hitting show featuring all things hard rock and heavy metal. And now here are your hosts, the Twins of Chaos, Clint Switzer and Paul Lagana.
All right, it is our pleasure on this week's episode of the Music Mania podcast to welcome our guest this week. It is guitarist extraordinaire, one of the greatest guitarists on planet Earth, and that's not just me saying that, and that's just not me kissing up, John. John 5, welcome to the show. How's everything going, my man?
Everything's going well. How you doing?
Doing great, and just looking around. I mean, you've got an album coming out. You've got a tour coming up. Season of the Witch is this new album, which is a follow-up to Careful with That Axe, which was from back in 2014. It comes out March 3rd. John, just kind of tell us about the process of writing and recording here, Season of the Witch, and what can we expect from this one, my man?
Well, here's what I did with this record. I wanted to do something completely different. I have a 13-year-old son, and he is, I kind of am watching what he's doing and how his friends and his generation is listening to music, and it's completely different. So people, of course, CDs are a thing of the past, of course, but
yeah.
People aren't really even they're not even downloading anymore. So everything is streaming and YouTube, believe it or not. And so when he listens to music, he usually just streams it or watches it on YouTube. So what I did is I put out one song a month with a video. So for January, here's your song, you can download it, stream it, and then here's the video that goes with it. And I did that once a month because people just, nowadays, they just watch music. And it was really, it really worked really well because, all together, collectively, it's well over, 2 million views with everything. And there's no way I could get 2 million spins on the radio with anything. So I made about 6 videos. I'm going to make some more. And it really worked really well.
Well, John, you've got a tour to follow this, and I believe it starts March 3rd as well, believe it or not. Same day as the physical album comes out, March 3rd, Season of the Witch tour. Doing a bunch of cities for this. It's going to lead you right into the Rob Zombie spring tour dates. For anyone that's never seen you live, I mean, it is sonically, it is visually impressive. I was able to see you in 2015 here in Kansas City, man. It's a great show. What can fans expect from this tour from the Creatures?
Well, this tour is going to be really cool. It's a completely different show from the previous tour. It's going to be a blast. So yeah, it's a really tour coming up.
Yeah, absolutely, and I want everyone to go out and see this if it hit. I mean, I believe it starts on the West Coast there in Washington. It's going to wind down and hit most parts of the country. Leads you right into the Rob Zombie tour dates. You guys are doing you guys have just become the festival poobahs of hard rock and heavy metal and Rob Zombie. I mean, you guys are hitting all the big festivals again this summer, going out and doing it right. You guys just, how different are those festival dates? I mean, you're outside. I know it's hot in a lot of the places, but it's just got to be different than kind of a normal tour where you're doing indoors and kind of have your own dressing room. This is those festivals are just kind of crazy, aren't they?
Well, I really enjoy them because you get to, see all these cool bands, and most of them are your friends, so you get to, catch up with old friends that you haven't seen in a long time. And things like that. It's really a pleasure doing these festivals. And, the day goes by so fast because you're like, oh, maybe I'll go watch this band, or maybe I'll go watch this band. And it's really fun. I love doing this festival.
I'll tell you, these festivals are great, you guys. And what can we expect? Because I know a couple years ago you guys did basically one of the biggest tours you've ever done. I mean, just the theatrics were insane. And I remember heard an interview with Rob where he said, "I didn't even know. I thought I was going to get hit by something every time I moved. I didn't know where to go. It was just too much." And then you kind of scaled it down a little bit and did a little bit more of a strip down a little bit. Where's this one gonna stand with regards to some of these other Rob Zombie tours?
That's a good question. I'm not sure, but hopefully, whatever we do, it's going to be a blast. It's going to be a big show. I think, I don't really know if we're going to have a ton of production or if it's going to be stripped down. But I think if I would guess, it's probably going to be production. But I'm not sure. Don't quote me. But
yeah.
We'll see what Rob wants to do.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I want to ask you, because you've done the score for a couple of Rob's films. This latest one, 31. Just talk about the process of actually scoring a film. Is this a deal where you sit down in a room, you watch like a rough cut of the film, and you just start kind of going from there? What's the process with regards to writing the scores? Because the score you did for 31 was a lot different than what I would have expected, and it's amazing. It's like almost calm, a lot of acoustic stuff, and Rob's soundtracks are always so 70s rock eccentric, as this one was, but the score itself was a lot different. It was almost peaceful and beautiful in a way for such a crazy film. How's that process work?
Well, I get 100% of the direction from Rob, so he'll tell me what he's looking for, and he'll tell me, he'll give me cue sheets, and he'll say, I need this here, and I need that here, and I need this here, and he really is, that's so helpful, because, you don't have to guess of what's going to go there. You know exactly what he wants, and all you got to do is just listen to what he says, and you'll have an easy time. And yeah, that piece at the end of the film, that acoustic sounding piece, I love that piece of music. It's one of my favorite pieces of music, and I'm really happy how that turned out. And we did that actually in Rob's kitchen in 2 takes.
Wow, the magic of filmmaking. You're just such a versatile player, though. I mean, people look at people, you just put your name on YouTube. I mean, you'll see you playing anywhere from, just the expected like guitar shredding and to all the way to chicken picking and acoustic stuff. That's you're so versatile as a player. And I think that since joining Rob's band, I think one thing that's been good for you is that your presence and your talent has been showcased in such a way that people are really starting to recognize your solo stuff, going back and realizing what a great guitar player you are. Because you deserve that respect, and it's good that you're able to showcase it in the spotlight with a huge band like Rob Zombies.
Well, yeah, thank you very much, and I really enjoy music in general. I just love music, and I love learning every day. I'm always playing guitar. Like right before I was talking to you, I was playing guitar. So it's something I'm doing all the time. And, I don't take it for granted. It's a pleasure what I do, and I'm really fortunate to be doing this.
Well, and you started off, you did a lot of session work, you did a lot of things before this happened, but in 98, joining David Lee Roth, growing up as a huge rock fan, as I know you were, I'm sure you were a huge Van Halen fan, as everyone was. What was that like for you, and kind of describe just what it was like getting the call from Dave? How did it work out for you actually joining him? Because that 98 DLR band album is awesome and kind of underappreciated, but that was your start really in as far as out there in the mainstream, and that must have been just a great experience for you.
Yeah, I was also with Rob Halford at the same time, and I was like, I wonder what Dave's doing. So I literally looked up his management on the back of his book, Crazy from the Heat, and called up their management and said, hey, I want to send some songs over. And, they didn't know me at all. Nobody did, So luckily I was able to send some stuff, and they got it to Dave, surprisingly, and they said, oh, we like this, so can you send us a few more songs? And I haven't talked to Dave yet, of course, and I was very poor, so I was like, let me going into the studio back then was a very expensive thing, so I there was no home studios or anything like that back then. So I do everything, go into a studio, find musicians. So I did 3 more songs, and they liked those. And they said, hey, can we have some more? And I said, well, I really can't afford it. So that's when I got a call from Dave, and he said he really enjoyed it, and, invited me over to the house, and then that was it.
Well, and it seems like that, sonically and visually, your style kind of got created when you joined Marilyn Manson in '98. I know you'd auditioned for the band a few years before that, but in '98 you joined the band. You come up with the name John 5, and you kind of create your look. Kind of just describe that experience of joining Marilyn Manson, developing what your look would be in the band, and because obviously it was a very visual and, bang you over the head visually theatrical band. I mean, how did you develop that, and just kind of talk about your experience joining Manson and 6 years in the band? I mean, it was a great ride for you, and again, just another step, I think, for you in your career at that time.
Well, it's funny. I didn't really audition before. What happened was I called the studio where they were, and I said, of course they didn't know who I was, and I called the studio and I said, I understand you're looking for a guitar player. I don't even think I said my name, and they said, we found somebody, and then that was it. And that was probably, I don't know, what was that, 96 or 97, I don't know when it was. And then I was on tour in Europe, and a huge Manson fan. And I was excited. I was like, oh, I finally get to see Manson. And I was in Europe. I was on tour with Halford. And they canceled the show. And I was so bummed out. I was like, oh, I'll never get to see Manson. So I went home. It was the end of the tour. And at the end of the tour, I went to my apartment, opened the door, and the phone was ringing. And it was Tony Ciula, the Manson's manager, and he said, hey, we're having problems with our guitar player. Will you come meet us for lunch? And I just literally got off a plane from Europe. And I said, sure. And I went down the street and met Manson and Tony at a restaurant. And they had, I remember Manson just giving me the name John 5 because he said he wanted to do a lot of things with numbers at this time.
Yeah.
And I want you to be John 5, and I want, I want you to join the band and all that stuff. And I didn't even play. We were just at lunch. And then, so we walked to the car together, and in his car was the David Lee Roth record and the 2 record.
Yeah.
So it was really cool, and then that was it. Then the train started rolling, and I remember, it was such a wild time. It was a really wild time.
Well, speaking of wild times, I mean, I got to see if you remember this or not, because you did so many hundreds of dates and you do this all over through the years. But there's one gig in particular I think you might remember, and we're here in Kansas City, Missouri, where we record this show here in the Midwest. And it was on the Golden Age of Grotesque tour. You guys were here playing an event, and the barricade up front breaks, John, and all hell breaks loose. Full scale riot. It was Freakers Ball 03. Do you have any recollection of that event? Because it was traumatizing for me as a college student.
Was it a festival?
Yeah, it was called Freakers Ball. It was right around Halloween. The barricade up front broke 2 or 3 songs into your set, and just all hell.
I remember, and there was a riot.
Yes.
And we had to get out of there.
Yes, full scale, and it was insane. I was in college at the time. I didn't know I was getting sprayed with pepper spray. It was insane. I just, it's funny, you do a million shows over your career. It's like, do you even remember that? But that was a crazy one. That was That was towards the end of your time there, actually, in the band.
Yeah, that was really, really crazy. I remember our bodyguard just going, everybody out, get on the bus and go. And then we were like, okay.
Yeah, that's insane. I mean, and it's crazy to think, too. I mean, you've been with Rob Zombie now for 12 years, I think, 05 to 2017. And what a ride it's been. You guys have some shows coming up here. I think only a couple in the U.S., though. Chicago Open Air and maybe one more. So the U.S., you better get to Chicago for that if they're going to see Rob Zombie this summer, correct?
Yes, we are doing some festivals and stuff in the States. And, but first is that tour with the Creatures. And I think there's something like 40 shows in 45 days or something like that. I mean, it's totally insane. So going to be a busy 2017.
Hey, that's always a good thing. And before we let you go, I just kind of recollecting, and I know you're such a big fan of music and the genre, but as I looked at it from just my own personal journey, I started off 2016 at New Year's Eve with Motley Crue's final concert, saw Black Sabbath's farewell tour, Rush has retired, Lemmy Kilmister died, Twisted Sister played their final show in South Dakota. As you look at it, this year has just been so insane, and it got me thinking, like, what in the world am I going to do in 10 years? Who am I going to go see? This, as a fan, you got to look at it. It's like it's the first sign of your heroes are not going to be around forever, and that's sort of sobering, really.
You know, that's a really, it's true. You know, it's true, and all good things will pass, and you know, and it's just, you know, it's a decision of these bands, but we have to think of it this way: is they've given us so much great music and so many great memories and everything like that. I mean, it's such a gift what we have received, and you know, our heroes can't go on forever, but you know, what they've given us will definitely live on longer than any of us.
That's a very, very well put, John. I'll tell you what, guys, go to John/5. That's John-5. You don't want to do the slash because that's going to take you somewhere weird. John-5.com. That's where you can get all the tour information, all of the merchandise. Guys, go pick it up. The new album comes out March 3rd. I guess check it out on YouTube. Until then, since, you know, that's the way we have to do it now. I'm going to pull it up right now and just start watching it on YouTube. That's the new medium. John, great, best of luck with this tour coming up, man. Look forward to catching you out on the road and with the zombie tour. Always a pleasure, my man, and it is such a pleasure for us. Thanks for joining us here on the Music Mania podcast.
Thank you, man. Thank you very much.
Have a good one, John. Thank you so much.